The world is holding its breath. Everywhere there's a sense of anticipation, an uneasy pause before the storm. From bustling cities to remote villages, people can feel the tension in the air, as if the planet itself is waiting for what comes next. We stand at the edge of an era marked by chaos and uncertainty, where the old rules of global order are unraveling. The institutions and alliances that once provided stability now seem fragile, their foundations shaken by new forces and old grievances alike. Headlines flash with stories of conflict, economic turmoil, and political upheaval, painting a picture of a world in flux. The next 20 years will be a crucible, testing the resilience of nations and the fabric of our civilization. Societies will be challenged by threats both familiar and unprecedented: climate disasters, pandemics, and the rise of new ideologies. How we respond will define the future for generations to come. The peace underwritten by American power is fraying as new powers rise and old rivalries return. The balance of influence is shifting, with nations like China and India asserting themselves on the world stage, while old alliances are tested by internal divisions and external threats. The question is not if a crisis will erupt, but when and how severe it will be. The clock is ticking, and the world's leaders are racing against time to prevent catastrophe. Yet, uncertainty lingers. Will we be ready, or will we be caught off guard? Alongside geopolitical tremors, technology is forging tools for a new kind of authoritarianism, threatening individual freedom. Surveillance systems grow ever more sophisticated, and the line between security and control blurs. The digital age brings both promise and peril, as our private lives become increasingly exposed to the gaze of the state. In this analysis, we'll dissect these dangers: war, economic collapse, the decline of American leadership, and the convergence of technology and state power. We'll explore how these forces interact, amplifying risks and creating new challenges that demand urgent attention. The world you know is about to change. As dawn breaks on a new era, we must confront the realities ahead with open eyes and a willingness to adapt. The choices we make now will shape the destiny of our civilization. Don't forget to like and subscribe now, and check out our other videos related to this one. Does history repeat itself? America's fading dominance. Once the United States stood as the undisputed leader of the world, its influence stretching across continents and oceans, shaping the very fabric of the modern era. For 80 years, American supremacy shaped the world. Its navy secured trade, its dollar anchored finance, and its alliances deterred war. The US was the architect of global order, setting the rules and enforcing peace, while its culture and technology inspired billions. But empires are not eternal. History teaches us that every great power eventually faces decline, and the signs are becoming harder to ignore. America's unipolar moment is ending as other nations rise. Countries like China and India are asserting themselves, building their economies, militaries, and global influence. The world is becoming multipolar, with power centers competing for dominance, making the geopolitical landscape more unstable. Old alliances are being tested, and new partnerships are forming in unexpected places. The US can no longer dictate terms. It must now negotiate and compete. Diplomacy is more complex, and American leaders face challenges on every front, from trade disputes to military standoffs. Domestically, Americans are weary of global policing, demanding focus on internal issues. Many question the cost of endless wars and foreign interventions, urging leaders to rebuild at home. This inward turn creates a power vacuum, inviting regional conflicts and unchecked aggression. Without a clear global leader, rival powers test boundaries and instability spreads. The dollar's dominance is under threat as rivals seek alternatives, and digital currencies plus rising US debt erode confidence. Nations are exploring new financial systems, and the world's trust in the dollar is no longer absolute. If the dollar loses its primacy, America's global influence will shrink dramatically. Economic leverage, once a powerful tool, could fade, leaving the US with fewer options to shape world events. The age of unquestioned American dominance is over. A new chaotic era is beginning. The world stands at a crossroads, uncertain and unpredictable, as the balance of power shifts before our eyes. The drums of war flashpoints for a new global conflict. Shifts in global power rarely happen peacefully. The next 2 decades are fraught with risk. The Indo-Pacific, especially Taiwan, is the most dangerous flashpoint. China's ambitions and US commitments could trigger direct conflict. A war over Taiwan would devastate the global economy and draw in regional powers. In Eastern Europe, Russia's aggression in Ukraine could escalate, especially if NATO is tested, risking a nuclear confrontation. The Middle East remains volatile, with Iran-Israel tensions threatening wider war. South Asia's India-China border dispute could also flare up, with global consequences. The world's interconnectedness and advanced weaponry make a global conflict terrifyingly plausible. The great unraveling a global depression looms. Our interconnected economy, once a source of prosperity, is now a source of fragility. A major conflict, like a war over Taiwan, could instantly sever supply chains, crash markets, and trigger a depression worse than 2008. Even without war, the world is drowning in debt, with rising interest rates threatening sovereign defaults in both developed and developing nations. Protectionism and deglobalization are raising costs and lowering growth, unraveling the system that built modern wealth. As economic walls rise, living standards fall, and tensions increase. The ingredients for a new Great Depression are present, awaiting a spark. The economic crisis could fuel the very instability that leads to war. While great powers compete, technology is quietly reshaping control. Digital tools, surveillance cameras, tracked data, and soon central bank digital currencies are building an infrastructure for unprecedented state power. Governments facing crisis may use these tools to enforce order, drifting toward digital authoritarianism. Social credit systems, already prototyped in China, could determine access to jobs, loans, and travel based on behavior and beliefs. Advances in AI and neurotechnology threaten even our innermost privacy. The risk, a digital cage enforcing conformity and obedience, more effective than any secret police. The battle for the future is a battle for the mind itself. The United States is slowly retreating from the world it built. Driven by war fatigue, economic pressures, and political polarization, America is turning inward. Both left and right demand a focus on domestic issues, pushing for economic nationalism and protectionism. As America builds economic walls, its global engagement shrinks, leaving allies exposed. Geography allows the US to choose isolation, unlike other powers. The world must now ask, what happens when the indispensable nation steps back? The answer? A more dangerous, chaotic world. Beneath the global economy lies a ticking time bomb, sovereign debt. Major economies have amassed unprecedented debt, manageable only in an era of low interest rates. Now, with inflation and higher rates, debt burdens are becoming acute crises. The US faces a fiscal death spiral, with interest payments crowding out essential spending. Europe and Japan are similarly vulnerable, with any shock threatening global stability. Decades of political avoidance and central bank enablement have led here. Political paralysis makes reform unlikely. We are heading toward a reckoning when the debt bomb explodes. The fusion of technology and state power is not destiny. Our legal traditions and desire for freedom are the antidotes, and bans on social credit systems are essential. Technological innovation, encryption, decentralized networks can empower individuals. A vigilant public is crucial. Digital literacy and discussion are just as important. Dystopias are not just for the movies. We've explored a future shaped by conflict, collapse, and the looming threat of digital tyranny. The world stands at a crossroads where the choices we make today will echo for generations. The challenges ahead are daunting, but understanding them is the first step toward overcoming them. The end of American order, flashpoints in Taiwan and Ukraine, and mountains of debt threaten global stability. These crises are not isolated, they are deeply interconnected, each amplifying the risks of the others. Political uncertainty, economic fragility, and the spectre of war are reshaping the world as we know it. Technology's dark side looms, with cyber threats and surveillance growing more sophisticated, yet law, innovation, and vigilance offer hope. Our ability to adapt, to create new safeguards, and to uphold justice will determine whether technology becomes a tool for liberation or oppression. The solution is not utopian dreams, but pragmatic realism and diplomacy. Only through honest dialogue, compromise, and a willingness to face hard truths can nations find common ground and prevent catastrophe. The US must accept a new role, offshore balancer, not world policeman. This shift requires humility, strategic patience, and a renewed focus on alliances and partnerships rather than unilateral action. Economies must deleverage and build resilience, balancing efficiency with security. This means investing in local industries, strengthening supply chains, and preparing for shocks so that societies can withstand whatever storms may come. The next 20 years will be dangerous, but outcomes are not preordained. The future is not written in stone. It is shaped by the actions, decisions, and courage of people everywhere. We can avert dystopia by always making sure that we do our part and support the nation we reside in. We may not always agree, but we must always support those who help our nation for the betterment of the world. The path forward is narrow, but it exists if we remain vigilant and courageous. In the face of uncertainty, hope and determination can light the way, guiding us through the darkness toward a better tomorrow. Like and subscribe now for our new catalogue of videos. Check out our other videos related to civil wars, the Great Replacement Theory, Does History Repeat, and more.